Well, hello, friend, and welcome to another episode of Van Life Living in New York. I'll tell you, I'm getting on here not because I want to be today, but because, well, the Holy Spirit showed me that I'm not supposed to just talk about Him and Jesus, but I'm also supposed to sometimes talk about the things I go through. And today was one of those days that I've been struggling a little bit. And we have this thought that we call Satan, right? That Jesus called Satan. It's our thought. It's our adversarial thought, because we're divine, right? Di meaning two, vine meaning fruit. We're the fruit of two vines. And once you accept Jesus and you read Jesus and you know Jesus, then you have a Holy Spirit, which is a holy thought. So getting to know Jesus allows you to get to know your holy thought. But that doesn't make the other thought not show up, right? And so today I've been struggling because for some reason I just was not feeling like I was in the necessarily a good place. And then the video that I created yesterday and put out on the internet, somebody has gotten on there and really put me down, friend, and saying that I'm arrogant and that I'm self-righteous and that I'm on my high horse, and and I get it, friend. I get the fact that people feel that way because I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, because when I talk on here, I talk from the Spirit. And I always ask my Father to speak for me because I don't know what to say for myself. Because even though He thinks that I'm thinking I'm smart and arrogant, right? Here's the truth, friend. I'm not smart. I never was and probably never will be. But my Father is smart. And so the Holy Spirit gives me greater strength, love, and faith than what I have on my own. And today, because of those things going on, I actually am struggling a little bit as far as having a little faith. And what had happened is it made me feel lonely, right? Because everybody's rejected me because I talk Jesus all the time, and nobody in my life wants to hear about it. And even people that talk Jesus don't want to talk, they want to talk about what religion talks about, not about what Jesus said. Because if you really read what Jesus said, religion gets thrown right out the window, friend. Everything they said has nothing to do with what Jesus said for the most part. They have these rules of justification which mean nothing. Because Jesus told you couldn't justify anything. He said that at the end that if you're a slave to sin, there is no permanent place in the kingdom for a slave, right? Now what that means is that we have to become the spirit of love in our heart. And it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect, friend, because I'm far from perfect. But I try to love and forgive all the time. So I'm not angry at that man for thinking of me that way. In fact, I knew that this is going to happen because it happens a fair amount. People saying things to me that aren't polite or nice. And I respond in such a way that then sometimes they're offended because, when Jesus responded to some of the things they said, He wasn't being mean, He was just being truthful. So, talking about it with authority, and people don't like it when you act like you know what you're talking about, friend. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the Holy Spirit does. Jesus knew what He was talking about. I believe that wholeheartedly. So today, I did stop at the swing set here in the park because there was nobody around. It's kind of a cold, windy day and nobody's out. So I stopped and swung on the swings for a little while. Me and my fiance that passed away, me and her used to do that. And I don't know, we used to just go do that. And it was kind of nice, and it made me think of her. And, I was blessed to have her in my life. I didn't know it at the time, friend. They ended up putting me on a bunch of medication because they said I was nuts, and they took away my emotions, so they took away my love. They took away my passion for God, for everything, for people. But I haven't been on that in a long time, and, it's like I have a passion in my life, and I was passionate about her. But that's okay. She still exists in my heart, friend. And I can still appreciate the fact that I got to spend the time that I did with her. So anyway, today is just one of those lonely moments where I feel like where the thought of Satan, my adversarial thought, wanted me to go down the self-pity road. And it started me down that road, and I almost didn't notice it was doing it, friend. And that's what it does. It's sneaky, friend. It comes at us from all these different directions. Now, I'm not mad at this adversarial thought. People are always like, this thought of Satan, rah, 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 rah. But they believe it's like this evil thing that defies God. Nothing can defy God, friend. My Father created this thought, and I'm going to tell you the truth. It said that Lucifer was my Father's greatest creation. It still is. Understand that because you have an adversarial thought, it gives you free will. It's your thought of selfishness. And it fights with you on wanting to do what Jesus told you to do, which is love your neighbor as yourself. So when you actually succeed at doing what you're supposed to, then you know you're doing it right because you're doing it what Jesus said. And quite often, friend, if your adversarial thought that I call Satan, Course calls it ego, it doesn't matter. Whatever thought you want to call that, it's always opposing me. It wants me to always do the wrong thing so that it can make me feel bad about myself. And that man was calling me arrogant and all these things, but what that man doesn't know is that I'm a man that hated myself. And that I can't be better than anyone, but I can be everyone's equal because Jesus said I could, because Jesus said ye are gods. So this is my saving grace. But if I don't do what the Holy Spirit asks, if I don't talk on these videos, if I don't speak the truth, that which was given will be taken away. I made an arrangement with my Father on a dark and frustrating night. I got angry and I said, I don't care if you whip, beat, and crucify me. You give me the truth or you kill me now. And a death showed up in my mind and a voice showed up. It was the clearest I've ever heard the Holy Spirit talk to me. And he said, do you agree? And on that night, I agreed. And on that night, I became what people call a voice here. I have a voice, but sometimes I'd get it confused because I didn't know Jesus well enough. And well, now I've read Jesus inside out, upside down, and backwards. I mean, I read him, I watch him, I listen to him. I know him real well. I don't have to read it all the time now because I know everything he said. And even though I don't know I'm sure there's something I forgot, I do still read it and I still watch it. I do read the Bible fairly regular of what Jesus said. But it's to the point where I know what Jesus would do because he's in my head. And I know everything he said so well that when a question comes up, I know the answer because my Father gives it to me through what Jesus said. Because there's parables or everything. So anyway, I just got on here to talk about, because I was having a pity party for myself. I was starting to, and the Holy Spirit told me to turn on to the camera. Because I'll tell you what happens. Now that I'm talking to you about God, the thought of selfishness, my adversarial thought, the thought of Satan, no longer has any power. The moment I started talking for God, that thought lost its power. So that's what the Holy Spirit has taught me, is that I can't fight this thought of Satan. I turn to God, and when I turn to God, I turn from it, right? But if I turn from God, then I turn to selfishness. I turn to this thought. And it doesn't mean that I don't do anything selfish in my life. It means that I put God first in everything I do, and I follow the Holy Spirit, which is a voice in my head that tells me what to do, including come out here to the park today when I didn't feel like it, but he said that this was my commitment and I was to continue to do it. So I did it. But it was the right thing to do, because if I wouldn't have, I'd have gotten all kinds of funky, because I'd have let this adversarial thought in my head start beating me up. And friend, if you're like me, the only way to let that thought go is to get to know Jesus inside out, upside down, and backwards. That's the real key to having a good life. Because if you're a Christian and you believe in Jesus, if you study and understand him completely, the Holy Spirit reveals things to you like secrets that have been hidden since the foundation of the world. I'm telling you, it's true. And the church will call you a liar, and people like this guy that was talking kind of trash on me, you know, I'm not angry with him. I forgive him, for he knows not what he does. I know I sound an awful lot like Jesus when I get on here and I talk like I'm talking with authority. When I ask the Holy Spirit to speak through me, I say what he tells me, and that's the way it is. And if he puts it on there and I don't like it, I used to delete stuff. I'll be quite honest with you, friend. When I first started talking for the Holy Spirit out here in the woods, I used to delete entire videos. Some of the things he would say would scare me to death, because I knew if somebody heard that what I was saying, that somebody was going to crucify me. But he keeps telling me that I promised him my death, so why am I trying to save my life? And he's right. And so therefore I get on here and I talk whatever comes out of my mouth. I talk from the Spirit just like he told me to. He said, when I go before my judges, and you're my judges, to not worry about what to say, that he'll give me exactly what to say at that very hour. So there's a lot of things going on in my life that could look scary if I didn't have faith in God and know I was doing the right thing. Because financially, I'm in a big hole, and as I've mentioned many a time, I'm on my way to court here in April to battle the corporations, because I won't pay them. Because BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own the entire nation at this point, and the media is not telling you because they own all the media too. So the whole world is blind to what's going on. The one world order isn't in the future, friend. It's already here. You just don't know it yet. And they're working on getting their things done. In Revelation, it did say that people would hide in the caves, right? In the dens, and they'd pray to the mountains fall on us. He was talking about the corporate elite and our politicians that have underground arcs, and they think they're going to let this all go down and they're going to make us murder each other, and then they're going to go hide in their arcs. It's not going to happen that way, friend. My Father's not going to allow it. Understand, Revelation told you all this. So there's a reason I'm talking. There's a reason I'm willing to die, because I'm not willing to let them have my family murder themselves while they're sleeping. Nobody will believe what I'm saying, and the moment I start talking, everybody gets scared. So I only talk to people on the internet for the most part, and the people that I do talk to, and they always reject me, and so that just is what it is. But I made my Father a promise. So if I have to get cast from the vineyard, and that's my Father's will, then his will be done. If it's not his will, well then, just like Jesus, when they come for me, I'll be gone. Or they'll lock me in prison like they did all the apostles. Friend, it just doesn't matter. What matters is that the purpose of the world is to come to know love by experience, and Jesus taught us that. And if we're not going to abide in that as a Christian nation, there's a debt. And I see it coming. And my Father told me that I'm not allowed to just sit back and let them murder you in your sleep. So I'm telling you the truth here, and nobody really wants to listen, and I don't blame you. If I didn't know it was true, I wouldn't believe me either. But my Father showed me a lot of things. Not only did he show me in visions, but he also led me around to different videos, which I put on the Clues to the Kingdom if you want to go look. That's the playlist on my channel. So if you look at those, you will see that a lot of the things in Revelation are playing out, and I have videos showing you what's going on. I have Christian videos and secular videos. Friend, there's things going on. I don't want to really talk about it, but I will say, because the Holy Spirit seems to be moving me to. In 536 AD, the sun became like sackcloth and the moon like blood. Right? That's in a volcanic eruption. That's one of the things in Revelation. We're not thinking about what we're thinking about, friend. This nation, we're building walls to keep them out, and they might very well be the walls to keep us in. I'm telling you, friend, we just don't think what we're thinking about anymore. Christians have become quite often so self-righteous and so unconscious about what's going on around them, they can't see it. They're screaming with this Trump about how righteous things are, and they're not. And let me tell you something. Donald Trump stood in the church in my Father's house in Florida and declared God's will murder. I can tell you, friend, it is not my Father's will that any of his children get murdered. And for him to say that was blasphemy. In my Father's house. So understand, you Christians that are following Trump are following the son of corporations, the son of Satan. And Jesus told you he was going to deceive you. And now you've got this dilemma because Biden's no better, because the politicians are all owned, both Democrats and Republicans. There's none left, friend. They're all owned by the corporations. They are slaves to corporations. All the corporations that own them are owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. So they're setting you up to get killed, and most of them don't even know they're doing it. And I'm telling you, this nation is so divided from hate. They're dividing us every which way, white and black. They're dividing us rich and poor. They're dividing us Democrat and Republican. It's only a matter of time before we start murdering each other, and I'm not having it. I'm not going to sit back and wait for you guys to do it. So I'm going to divide it for Christ if I can. And if you want to join me, you're welcome to, friend, because love's the better plan. And if you're not going to think about what you're thinking about, because if you're Christian, I want you to understand this. Jesus said, before me the kingdom suffered violence and was taken by force, but after me it won't. You think about what he said. He said that offenses must come, but woe to those who bring them. So here at this hour, I hope you're thinking about those two statements before you go joining in the murdering that's going to start happening soon. And if you can't see it, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm literally listening to Republicans call Democrats like animals and stuff. And I'm hearing Democrats say the same thing about Republicans, because I don't take a side. I get to hear them from both sides. And I have family that's on both sides of the aisle. And I'm telling you, the politicians have us so divided, we are ready to kill each other. And Trump's, all he's got to do is scream bloody murder when they go to press charges on him, and I imagine we'll see some fireworks. We aren't thinking about what we're thinking about. If you're Christian, Jesus said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Please hear that. Please understand that. Those were Jesus' words, not mine. All right, friend. Well, I'm going to get off here. I didn't even mean to be on here this long. But I do feel better because I talked on my Father's behalf, and therefore my thought of Satan, which is my selfishness and my self-pity and my beat myself up, lost all its power because I'm in the service of my Father, and that's what's more important, right? All right, friend, I love you because my Father loves you, and may God bless you and yours.